So that has been the approach in that sense. But when you're at Arsenal, it's 100%.
Have you seen players reach a similar level now then as a result of that work to make sure that they're all mentally on the same page, and all the work done with the international teams to give players rest, and you giving players rest internally? Are you seeing it all sort of level up now to where everyone is sort of at a similar level, or is there still a little bit of a gap?
Yeah, I think to the days leading into Manchester United and the days here now in the week, I really feel I start to see a team here now on reaching good levels. But like I said, I still think we have things to develop. I still think we have higher ceilings to reach to, but we start to be at a good level here now, and that is satisfying to see.
And then just one last one on Beth. I just had a question about how much work is done on the psychological side of her return with her, because obviously there's so much pressure on her as an England international, such a high performer. A lot is expected of her. Like, how do you put extra support around her to handle the mental side of returning and that psychological aspect, and also the fact that she steps on a pitch and she's going to feel a lot of pressure to perform almost instantly, I imagine.
Yeah, so I think, and this is probably where elite sport has changed a lot in the last decade, where mental training before was used to something to say for a team that was struggling, and then we said, oh, they need a mental coach, for example, because they're a lot under pressure here now. Mental training is an everyday approach to our program, with a holistic approach both to the player and to the team. So we give our players full mental support all days for it. So it's not just an on and off button for it. Of course, there's pressure representing a club like Arsenal, and that's why we need to develop these strengths and qualities over time. And if you don't develop them over time, it's like learning any new skill. If it would be easy and you just would do a Friday session for it, then everybody would do it. Mental training works exactly the same as technical training with that. We need to spend a lot of time on it. We need to prepare a lot for it. And then we will get a lot of benefits for it if we have a good level of training. So we work the same thing with mental training, and I think and I hope Beth feels very supported with that from the club.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. Rachel from PA at the back.
Hi, Yunus. You mentioned Viv and her own individual recovery timeline. Just wondering if you have a sense of how long that might be, how far behind she is, and just a bit of an update on her fitness at the moment.
Viv has returned to team training, which is really nice. So obviously the next thing from team training is to start being involved in playing games. If that's friendly games, if that's internal games behind closed doors and so on, that's a different question. But that's the next step. And from there on, obviously you're not miles away from being able to be selected to be in a squad. So she's definitely getting closer.
And any other team news, any fresh injury concerns ahead of Sunday's match?
No one that is ruled out. We had one or two minor injuries, but they're all players that are in contention for Sunday. Nothing else. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. We'll come to the call, guys. Time's just pushing on a little bit, so if we can keep maybe to one each on the call, we'll try and get around the floor on screen. Tim, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I've got a couple I'll save for another day. They'll keep, but I just wanted to ask Jonas about what you're expecting from Villa on Sunday. It looks to me like they've kind of tried to be a bit more secure off the ball this season and played that kind of midfield double pivot. I just wondered what you made of their first two games and what we might see here and how that might play into your team selection.
Yeah, I think that comes down a little bit to personnel as well. That they haven't had the same personnel available on their central midfield as they had in the majority of last season. I see a lot of the same things in a really strong Aston Villa side as I did last season. So I expect them to come to the Emirates and believe in their model and their identity. And I think that's going to be an exciting game against two teams that really wants to play football.
Thanks, Jonas.
Thanks, Tim. Emma from the BBC.
Hey, Yunus. Yeah, Tim just asked my question actually, but can I just double check? I didn't quite hear the question from Rachel in the room. Did she ask about Viv or was it about Leah in terms of their progress?
It was Viv. Leah is unfortunately not that close to playing, even if she's progressing very well as well.
I did think that. What sort of stage is Leah at the moment?
She's out on the pitch, which is really pleasing, and that's of course a really important stage in returning to play to do that. But from there on, now it starts with doing more basic ball work until progressing with more complex moving patterns, and from there on starting to get integrated in team training. I mean, Lee has always been that there's no way she's going to return before Christmas. She's an after Christmas player, and then if that's what month after Christmas, it's impossible to predict at the moment. But to save you guys from asking every week for it before Christmas, no.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jonas. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thanks, Emma. Tom from the Telegraph.
Hi, Jonas. Thanks for your time. Could I just ask you a question about Villa, please? I know that since you last met, both teams have signed a lot of players, but nonetheless, what have you learned from the game when you met them in May that didn't go so well at Meadow Park, and what can you learn from that to rectify this weekend?
I think I learned things from every time I played Villa, to be honest. I think that game at the Meadow Park, it was a very odd game for us. We were totally depleted. As a squad, as a group, we had been fighting so hard. We just didn't have any energy at all. I think Villa played a good game, but we're at a total different stage here now, with energy and a motivation here going into this season. So I see this being a completely different game.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Jonas. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom. And finally, Sandra from the Sun.
Hi, Jonas. Just one general question in terms of being at the Emirates. You talked a little earlier about mental strength and the team's mentality in terms of winning. How important is it to play more of these games at the Emirates in terms of how it helps your the mental strength, the winning mentality of the team, and then the Emirates becoming more of a fortress, for Arsenal? I mean, obviously it's quite an intimidating place to come, I suppose, when it's full and you're wanting to, I guess, get on top of your opponents mentally.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part of how we want to grow is to make Emirates our fort, our fortress, and doing that together with the audience. That's not going to be achieved only by the team. That has to be the team and the fans in cooperation. They need to live the moments together. They need to energize each other. It goes both ways for us, and to create that bond, which we need to transform that for what we have at Boreham Wood onto the Emirates. And how do we do that? Like you're saying, playing more often at Emirates, creating those situations more often, so we get better at it. I think this is a really strong moment where we are playing back-to-back league games at the Emirates. I think if you go back 3 or 4 years, you looked at playing at the major stadiums was a one-off occasion. It was done around Europe, but it was sort of these one time per season kind of thing, give away a lot of tickets and try to get up some attendances. And then the week after, what happened then with attendances? Where was the next game being played the week after? And very few clubs have been managing to do this week by week, back to back. And I think that's, if we want to talk sustainability with attendance figures, if we want to talk sustainability about maybe moving permanently to the Emirates, that's what we need to show as a team, but also with our fans, to say that we can have good attendance figures back to back at Emirates, week in, week out. That's where we need to go to, and that's when the Emirates can become a real strength for the women's team. and we're on that movement. We're not fully there yet, but we're on that movement, and that makes me extremely proud and extremely optimistic about the future.